Welcome to people who are just coming in. There is some room up front. We can scooch forward a little bit. Shraddha, you can reserve over here. So we have several speakers. We're going to try to get them all in for you. We'd like for the speakers to limit themselves to 15 minutes. We will be listening to this nectar until about 8:30, at which time we'll do Pushpanjali. And then we'll go over to the Bhakti Center where prasadam will be served. For those of you who need to honor prasadam earlier than that, excuse me, it will be available at 7 o'clock. So from 7 o'clock onward on the 3rd floor of the Bhakti Center, okay? If you're up here speaking and you lose track of time, you know, in comedy clubs, they flash a little light in the back. The audience can't see it, but the comic knows that means my time is almost up. We have something similar for you here. Lovely Spring on the side there is holding up time cards showing you when you have 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and get the HECK off the pseudo Vyasasana. Okay, that's for your information. I'd like to bring up Adarsi Prabhu. You know, it was here in this room where ISKCON was incorporated in 1966. Adarsi Prabhu has been an ISKCON incorporated trustee since 1989, continues to do this service. He opened up the Long Island temple with his wife Jahnavi in 1980, right? And you were initiated in what year was it?
1974.
74, that's correct. He got it on the first try, 1974. Please welcome Adarsi Prabhu.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastatyadi Shatarane. Once on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, some disciples asked Srila Prabhupada to tell them about Srila Bhaktivedanta, and Prabhupada replied, "What can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man." So the activities of the pure devotee are inconceivable for those of us who are conditioned souls here in the material world. Although Srila Prabhupada appeared before us, Srila Prabhupada was in every way at all times completely transcendental to the material world. Paramhamsa means that the swan, when milk and water are mixed, the swan drinks, but drinks only the milk. So this is the nature of Srila Prabhupada. Every year when I'm asked to speak, I start by thinking about philosophical precepts, verses from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, but I always feel that if I try to make a philosophical point with my tiny brain, that I'll be actually diminishing what I actually experienced personally with Srila Prabhupada. So every year I decide to share with you some experiences that I had with Srila Prabhupada, because I think that's the only way I can really praise Srila Prabhupada fully. So in 1976, in late spring, I was a brahmachari at that time, and I became servant of Satsarup Maharaj. So we were in New York, and there was going to be the first New York Rath Yatra. So Satsarup Maharaj called us together. He had two parties. He had the library party, which was the elite of the elite, book distributors. And then he had another party that traveled with him in a little mobile home and did other kinds of Sankirtan. And he stayed with that party. He lived with that party, and we had deities there. So more or less the day before Srila Prabhupada was going to arrive, Satsuru Maharaj called us together and said, Satsuru Maharaj was the GBC for Toronto and Detroit, and Srila Prabhupada would be going there after New York. So he said that we're going to be with Srila Prabhupada in Toronto and Detroit. So why do we have to be here for this Rath Yatra? We should go and sell Prabhupada's books, and we'll be with Srila Prabhupada in Toronto and Detroit. So this was very upsetting to all the devotees. But I never said a word until today. Because Srila Prabhupada had a standard of discipline within the ashram. And that standard was very severe. And that standard included that you could not question, you could not rebel against your GBC. Now, in that case, Satsuru Maharaj was the GBC. I was his servant, and I was on his traveling mobile home. So there was no getting away from this basic fact. For those who are interested in ISKCON history, I can also tell you from personal experience that sometimes, even if the GBC said something which seemed different than what Srila Prabhupada had some specific service instruction, Prabhupada would later take the side of the GBC. So Prabhupada was teaching us how to cooperate, how his movement would go on after he physically left the planet. So we went to Toronto, and in Toronto I wasn't able to go on the morning walks, but every day when Prabhupada came from the morning walk, you'd go directly into the temple room. Satsuru Maharaj was the only sannyasi there, so it was Prabhupada, Satsuru Maharaj, and myself, and we would come into the temple room and we'd go offer obeisances, full dandavats in front of all the deities, and then Prabhupada sat down to give class, and I would fan Srila Prabhupada every day. So what was Srila Prabhupada like in the temple room? Srila Prabhupada, as far as I could tell, was in complete samadhi, in the presence of the deity. During the kirtan, Srila Prabhupada was 100% absorbed in Krishna. Prabhupada didn't look around. Prabhupada wasn't socializing. Prabhupada was only looking at the deity. Prabhupada was absorbed in the kirtan, even though Prabhupada generally wasn't leading the kirtan. Prabhupada was completely absorbed in the kirtan. So then we went to Detroit. So the first day, we had just bought the Fisher Mansion. That was a very big thing. And this had been accomplished by our godbrother Govardhan Prabhu. So first day, Satsuru Maharaj and I, we went to the Fisher Mansion. Satsuru Maharaj went in to meet with Srila Prabhupada. I was on the balcony overlooking the canal into the river. Satsuru Maharaj, after a few hours, he came out. He didn't look good. He looked, Satsuru Maharaj was very, very equanimity of mind. Rarely showed any emotion. He just chanted. But this time, he looked upset. So we went back to the mobile home, and then later at night, we heard the story. So when Prabhupada chastised Satsuru Maharaj, he said, "Why isn't Govardhan the president?" So Govardhan Prabhu had overseen this expansion from 383 Lenox Avenue in Detroit to the Fisher Mansion. So Satsuru Maharaj said, Srila Prabhupada, Govardhan came to me and said that he was struggling chanting 16 rounds. So I felt that he couldn't be the president. Srila Prabhupada immediately said, "Are you chanting 16 rounds?" Satsuru Maharaj was shocked. He stammered. He said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, "At least I know Govardhan is telling the truth." Prabhupada said, Govardhan must be the president. If we do not recognize this service, who will stay? Pretty shocking. The next day we went back. Satsu Maharaj went in to meet with Srila Prabhupada. Again, chanting japa, throwing things into the canal. This time, Satsu Maharaj came out. He was very, very happy. So Prabhupada had related the story of how we got the Fisher Mansion. So Prabhupada came to visit Detroit, maybe, 6 months before, and they were looking for a temple at that time. So there was some talk, this Fisher Mansion, it's very famous, and it's for sale. So Srila Prabhupada said, take me there, I want to go there right away. So the devotees weren't considering this place. It was outside of their budget. And it was, what I recall at that time is the asking price was very high, maybe close to $1 million. It was built for something like $2.8 million in the 1920s. So when they got there, the owner was there was a real estate agent, and Srila Prabhupada insisted that they show him the whole place. Now anyone who's been there, this is a huge place. Okay, there's boat wells, you can drive your speedboat in under the house. There's a garage like that became the Brahmacharya ashram. The most beautiful place I ever lived in was a garage. There's a marble floors where the last piece of marble in the world was used for that, and they broke the last piece, and to this day there's like a little hole in the floor. So it's a very, very fantastic. So Prabhupada, he made them look at the gardens, everything. So then they sat down. Srila Prabhupada said, so, we are humble brahmacharis and sannyasis. We are beggars. We don't have any money. Srila Prabhupada said, we have come here to ask you to give us this building. Now, let me say that if you spent half an hour with Srila Prabhupada, you were charmed beyond belief. Srila Prabhupada was the most attractive person, the most intelligent, the owner and the real estate agent were stunned. According to one devotee there, claimed that the real estate agent almost fell off her chair onto the ground. So there was silence. So the owner said, I can't. He said, I have to get at least $350,000 for the building. Prabhupada immediately said, we'll give you $300,000 cash. So this was amazing for the real estate agent, for the owner, but more amazing for the devotees who were there because they had no money. They had maybe $5,000, $10,000. Of course, they were completely silent in front of their spiritual master. What could they say? So, within a short period of time, Lekha Shravanti Prabhu, our god sister, and Ambarish Prabhu, they provided $300,000. Now, there's a tape of this conversation that I'm telling you about. And on the tape, Srila Prabhupada starts laughing at this part in the story. And Prabhupada says, no ordinary man can buy a building like this with no money. So the last day in Detroit was the installation of the large Gaurnitai deities there. So again, I was fanning Srila Prabhupada. Now, up to this time in ISKCON, we never had any kind of elaborate puja. It was what Prabhupada taught us was very simple. Prabhupada even told the first pujaris in San Francisco, if I told you everything, you'd faint. Everything about deity worship. So, traveling with Srila Prabhupada was one of our Sanskrit experts, and he had been studying this fire sacrifice. And so as the fire sacrifice was going on, Srila Prabhupada was watching, and things got a little confused. So then Srila Prabhupada called like this, and the devotee came up to Srila Prabhupada right close. And no one could hear this but me, Panchatattva Prabhu, who was also fanning Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, "You fool! You are dealing with Krishna." So this was like a complete shock. So then he went back, we finished the fire sacrifice. Then the deities were dressed, the curtain opened, there was Govinda prayers, and then huge kirtan started. Pushta Krishna Swami was leading the kirtan, big kirtan. So, in case anyone here is wondering why in the kirtan, sometimes you see Srila Prabhupada disciples jumping up and down, and I'm going to explain why. So once the kirtan started roaring, then Srila Prabhupada got up off the Vyasa and he walked right up to the deities. And Prabhupada looked at the deities. Prabhupada looked at all the devotees. And Prabhupada put his arms into the air and started jumping up and down. The whole place went crazy. We started jumping up and down. It was a wild kirtan. So this was ecstasy of Srila Prabhupada. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was probably 81, 82 years old. But Prabhupada was in complete ecstasy, seeing Gaura installed there in Detroit. Thank you very much.
Amen.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much.